It unfolded in an instant, leaving me breathless, my voice trapped in a silence that echoed the chaos. In an instant, I found myself poised on the weathered wooden dock, the sweet scent of lemonade wafting from the tray I held tightly, ready to serve my family. But then, without warning, a violent shove erupted from behind, sending me reeling, arms thrashing wildly, the tray soaring through the air like a tragic comet destined for disaster. Suddenly, I found myself submerged in the water, the cold grip of the depths pulling me down into an abyss of uncertainty. The icy depths of the lake engulfed me, dragging me into its merciless embrace like a ravenous predator. My lungs howled in agony as I fought against the suffocating grip of the murky lake, kicking and clawing my way to the surface, each desperate gasp filled with the bitter taste of filth. The world was spinning, teetering on the brink of chaos, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling before our eyes. My heart thundered, threatening to burst forth from my chest in a wild frenzy. Emerging from the depths, I shattered the surface, lungs screaming for air, my eyes wide, reflecting sheer terror. My clothes clung to my skin, heavy and suffocating, a relentless weight that threatened to drown me. My silver hair, slick and damp, clung desperately to my cheeks, a testament to the turmoil swirling around me. With trembling hands and a vision clouded by uncertainty, I scoured the dock, each moment heavy with dread. And there he stood, a figure cloaked in shadows, the air thick with tension, as if the very world held its breath in anticipation. My grandson, Tyler, towering at 6'2", with broad shoulders that seemed to carry the weight of the world, a smug grin plastered across his face, laughing, oh how he laughs, echoing through the air like a haunting melody. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Grandma," he exclaimed, a tear glistening in his eye, as if the weight of the world had just been lifted by a mere jest. "It's merely water. Yet it holds the power to drown dreams and wash away hope." Beside him stood his girlfriend, Kayla, fresh from the clutches of college, her head shaking in disbelief, laughter bubbling forth as if this were the most absurd prank imaginable. They observed my desperate thrashing, as if I were a mere spectacle in their grand performance. 74 years had passed, a lifetime etched in the lines of my face, each wrinkle a testament to the battles fought and the stories lived. I gasped for air, my lungs constricted in a vice of panic. Thoughts eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand in an hourglass, leaving only a haunting silence in their wake. Unbelievable, the sheer audacity of it all. How could this be happening? My mind raced, grappling with the impossible reality before me. But the words that escaped his lips next will haunt me forever. "You always proclaimed your desire to dive into the depths of the water, yearning for the embrace of the waves." In that moment he pivoted, his back to the world, and strode into the shadows, leaving a silence that screamed of unspoken words. The suspense reaches its peak, and the cliffhanger concludes with a gasp, leaving hearts racing and minds reeling. And so, the tale unfolds, shrouded in mystery and intrigue. 2 months ago, I plunged into the abyss of my own making, committing the gravest error of my existence. In a bold twist of fate, I extended an invitation to Tyler and Kayla, beckoning them to share my space for the summer. What secrets would unfold in this unexpected arrangement? The university dorms, once a sanctuary of youthful dreams, had abruptly shut their doors for renovations, and in the midst of this chaos, Tyler, my only grandson, reached out to me, his voice trembling with desperation. He declared, with a heavy heart, that the weight of his finances left him unable to secure a place to call his own. He declared, with a fervour that could ignite the very air around him, that all he required was a mere few months, just a fleeting moment in the grand tapestry of time, to gather his resources and immerse himself in the labyrinth of his studies for the impending exams. I plunged forward without a moment's pause. In the wake of my daughter's tragic departure, I took on the monumental task of raising Tyler, a responsibility that weighed heavily on my heart. With trembling hands, I changed his diapers, my heart swelling as I read him bedtime stories, and I clapped fervently at every single school performance, even when he took on the role of a mere background tree. I believed we shared an unbreakable bond, a connection that could weather any storm. He once whispered my name, Grammy, with a tenderness that echoed through the shadows of our past. He'd embraced me with such ferocity that I feared my ribs might shatter under the pressure. He was my precious child, the light of my life, the very essence of my being. But somewhere between the chaotic halls of high school and the tumultuous journey of his second year at university, a profound transformation ignited within him. He ceased all communication, leaving an echoing silence in his wake, seized the utterance of gratitude. He began to roll his eyes dramatically, muttering under his breath as if the weight of the world rested on his shoulders. You could never grasp the depths of this turmoil. Every time I dared to inquire about the tumultuous saga of his existence, yet against all reason I allowed him to enter my life. In a whirlwind of anticipation, I transformed the guest room into a sanctuary, every detail meticulously arranged, while the fridge brimmed with his beloved treats, a feast awaiting his arrival. Chocolate milk, frozen pizza, those fiery chips that ignited his passion. But the instant they stepped foot into the scene, the very fabric of reality twisted and turned. Kayla stormed into the living room, her voice echoing like thunder as she unleashed a barrage of loud phone calls, while mountains of makeup lay scattered like the remnants of a chaotic battlefield. In a twist of fate, Tyler transformed my once serene study into a chaotic gaming cave, where shadows danced and the air crackled with tension. They hardly uttered a word to me, except when they desperately sought the sacred Wi-Fi passwords, or lamented in frustration that the hot water was a mere whisper of warmth. I fought to maintain my composure. I whispered to myself, "They are but mere children, lost in the tempest of their youth. They are engulfed in a storm of stress, each moment a battle against the overwhelming tide of anxiety that threatens to consume them. They're caught in a whirlwind, desperately seeking clarity amidst the chaos. Yet, the tide of disrespect surged relentlessly, an unyielding wave crashing upon the shores of patience. One fateful evening, I returned from my solitary walk, only to be met with the shocking sight of 6 unexpected guests, friends of theirs, gathered in my home. Beer bottles littered my antique table, a stark contrast to its timeless elegance, a scene that whispered of chaos and revelry. In a shocking twist of fate, my cherished embroidered quilt lay sprawled across the grass, tarnished and disrespected, serving as a mere picnic blanket in the unforgiving sunlight of the backyard. When I confronted Tyler, demanding to know why he kept it from me, he erupted, "It's not that serious, Graham. Calm yourself, for the storm within must be quelled." Graham. A name that echoes through the shadows, a whisper of fate entwined with destiny. What secrets lie beneath that surface? What storms brew in the depths of his soul? The air thickens with tension, and the world holds its breath, waiting for the next move in this unfolding saga. He would never dare to truncate it. I choked down my pain, a bitter pill lodged in my throat. In the following week, I found myself eavesdropping on Kayla, her laughter echoing through the air as she bantered on the phone with someone, the tension thickening with every word. It's as if one is trapped within the sinister confines of a haunted dollhouse, where every creak of the floorboards whispers secrets of the past, and shadows dance with malevolent intent. Everywhere the air is thick with the stench of mothballs, mingling with the bitter aroma of shattered dreams. I stormed into my room, the weight of despair crashing down upon me, and I wept bitterly. Yet, I found myself holding back, refraining from uttering the words that would send them away. Not when they yanked the plug from my freezer, unleashing a catastrophic fate upon my precious stored soups. Not when their laughter echoed, mocking the very way I dared to fold towels. Not even when they pushed my monthly Wi-Fi to its limits, draining every last drop, and commandeered my Netflix account to devour horror movies until the break of dawn. But being thrust into the lake, that was a whole new level of betrayal. That was no mere carelessness. It was a calculated act, a chilling decision that sent ripples through the very fabric of reality. That was an act of unspeakable cruelty, calculated and sinister. In the glaring spotlight of society, where every whisper echoes and every glance is scrutinized, the stage is set for a tumultuous unfolding of events. The air is thick with anticipation as the crowd holds its breath, waiting for the next shocking revelation to shatter the silence. Public, A realm where secrets are laid bare and truths collide with deception is about to erupt in a cacophony of emotions and drama that no one can escape. And they believed it was a joke, a mere jest in the grand tapestry of life. As I emerged from the icy depths, my hands felt like lifeless stones, my body quaking uncontrollably in the frigid air. Tyler and Kayla had vanished into thin air, leaving behind an eerie silence that hung in the atmosphere like a heavy fog. They had retreated into the house, shadows cloaking their every move, the air thick with unspoken tension. The haunting melody filled the air, echoing through the shadows of the room. Through the window, a cacophony of laughter pierced the silence, echoing like a haunting melody in the night. Not a single word of remorse. In a moment of sheer disbelief, the realization struck. No towel. The absence loomed large, a void in the chaos of the day, leaving a chilling sense of vulnerability in its wake. Shameless audacity. That fateful night, sleep eluded me. A cruel spectre haunting my restless mind. I lay awake, the haunting moment echoing in my mind. A relentless loop of despair and disbelief. How had I descended into the punchline of my own sanctuary? How could it be that I had nurtured a grandson who found amusement in the sight of my desperate gasps for air? But the most harrowing revelation lay not in his actions. It was the haunting gaze that pierced through his eyes as he committed the act. Delightful chaos unfolds. That fateful night, I made a vow that I would not shed another tear. Still haunted by Tyler. Still haunted by Kayla. And certainly not for the sake of a university fund. For a lifetime, I toiled and sacrificed, crafting a world for a boy who now stood indifferent, utterly unconcerned whether I sank into despair or soared to the heavens. With a heavy heart, I rose from the depths of my slumber, the weight of the world pressing down on my shoulders. I approached the desk, a silent sentinel of secrets, and with trembling hands, I opened the drawer. There it lay, the black leather folder, a dark promise of revelations yet to unfold. Within those walls lay the bank documents, a treasure trove of secrets waiting to be unveiled. The account I had painstakingly crafted from the ground up. Every holiday card, every frantic side hustle, every hard-earned pension check that I clutched tightly. Everything, every last shred of it, was funneled into that account, a dark abyss waiting to swallow it whole. It had swelled to an astonishing nearly $96,000. It was a sum so vast it could engulf his entire tuition for the next 3 years, a fortune that could change everything. I lingered at the kitchen table for what felt like an eternity, my gaze fixed on the balance, a silent witness to the turmoil brewing within me. In that electrifying moment, I seized my fate with unwavering resolve. With a trembling finger, I clicked withdraw all, sending my hard-earned fortune spiraling into the abyss of a different account. In a moment of reckless abandon, I printed a solitary note, its ink still fresh with secrets, and abandoned it on the desk in my study, a silent witness to the chaos that was about to unfold. Tyler, in a moment of reckless abandon, you hurled me into the depths of the lake, all for your twisted amusement. In retaliation, I have unleashed chaos upon your future, draining your university fund in a desperate bid for tranquility. That fateful day, you were plunged into the depths of despair as you lost a grandmother, a beacon of love and wisdom, forever extinguished from your life. Do not seek me out. Grammy! The air crackles with anticipation, the spotlight blazes down, and the world holds its breath. A moment of glory. A crescendo of dreams, where legends are born and destinies collide. Will it be triumph or tragedy? The stage is set for an unforgettable showdown. With a heart pounding like a drum, I hastily stuffed a solitary suitcase, flung open the front door, and vanished into the abyss of the unknown. I stepped out of the house, the darkness still clinging to the world. Just moments before the first light of dawn broke the horizon, the air hung heavy, a suffocating silence enveloping the scene, as if the world itself held its breath in anticipation of the chaos to come. The kind of early morning silence that hung heavy in the air, a stillness so profound that even the birds, those heralds of dawn, dared not break the spell with their songs. I cast a final, haunting gaze upon the lake, its surface shimmering with secrets untold. The very lake that had once cradled my most exquisite memories now loomed ominously, a haunting reminder of what was lost. Amidst the golden glow of Sunday picnics, the air crackles with the magic of late-night firefly dances where my daughter twirls like a dream. And then there's little Tyler, his giggles ringing out like the sweetest melody as I guide him in the art of skipping stones, each splash echoing our laughter into the night. Now the water loomed before me, cold and unyielding, a silent abyss heavy with secrets, like a wound that refused to heal. I did not, in a fit of rage, slam the door. With every step, I felt the weight of their eyes upon me, a silent audience to my escape. I was a ghost slipping through the shadows, desperate to vanish without a trace, to leave behind the echoes of my departure unacknowledged. The air crackled with tension as I tiptoed away, my heart pounding in a frantic rhythm, fearing that even the slightest sound would shatter the fragile illusion of my stealth. I didn't want them to hear me leave. Goodbyes were unnecessary, a mere illusion in the shadow of what was to come. My letter was a tempest, a whirlwind of emotions that left no heart untouched. They received far more than they ever deserved, truly, and I would not endure the cacophony of outrage, the hollow justifications, or, even more despicable, the laughter that echoed through the air. With trembling hands, I slipped into the worn seat of the old blue pickup, a relic of my late husband Albert's life, and twisted the ignition key, the engine roaring to life like a ghost awakening from slumber. It let out a single, ominous cough before roaring to life with a thunderous growl. My hands quaked violently, not from the weight of years, but from a tempest brewing within, a darkness clawing to break free. A tempest, long brewing in the shadows, now unleashed its fury upon the unsuspecting world. I sped away, heart racing, not daring to glance in the rearview mirror. My path was shrouded in uncertainty, a void of purpose stretching endlessly before me. All I possessed was a suitcase, a box brimming with letters, the cash from the university fund now securely hidden in my other account, and an insatiable yearning to inhale deeply without the sting of ridicule. At the first gas station 2 towns over, I screeched to a halt, heart racing, and yanked out my notebook, ready to capture the chaos swirling around me. It was an ancient leather-bound tome, the very vessel of my mundane grocery lists, now transformed into a chilling archive of numbers and names, each one a whisper of secrets long buried. On page 3 lay a name, a ghost from the past, one I hadn't dared to utter in over 20 years, Maggie Wright. A name that echoes through the corridors of fate, a whisper of destiny wrapped in enigma. Our fateful encounter unfolded when the clock struck 21 for both of us, a moment that would forever alter the course of our lives. She was the tempestuous spirit, the artist who fled to the enchanting streets of Paris, while I remained shackled in Michigan, bound by the chains of matrimony. Life had torn us asunder, like fragile leaves swept away on tumultuous, diverging rivers. But 2 months ago, when Tyler and Kayla first stepped into their new lives, I found myself plunging into the depths of nostalgia, unearthing old photos that whispered secrets of the past. It was then, amidst the shadows of memory, that I stumbled upon her address, hastily scrawled on a tattered envelope, a relic of forgotten times. In a moment of sheer uncertainty, I meticulously inscribed it, as if sealing my fate with ink. Amidst the chaos, a flicker of hope emerged, defying the shadows that loomed overhead. Now, it loomed like a heavy anchor, dragging down the very essence of existence. I called her, and the phone rang once, twice, 3 times each ring echoing like a heartbeat in the silence. Then, from the shadows, a groggy voice emerged, shattering the silence like a thunderclap. "Is anyone there?" "Maggie." The very name echoes with a haunting urgency, a whisper of secrets yet to be unveiled. What shadows linger in her wake? What tempest brews within her heart? The stage is set, and the drama unfolds. I whispered, a sudden realization crashing over me like a tidal wave, the sharp ache in my throat clawing for attention. Silence hung in the air, a heavy, suffocating pause that seemed to stretch on forever. Could it be? Judy? My heart shattered into a million pieces in that very moment. Indeed, it is I. It was all too clear, wasn't it? The truth loomed like a dark cloud, inevitable and suffocating. I knew it all along. Oh, the weight of time. After all these years, can you believe it? What transpired? I halted, the weight of the moment crashing down around me. In a twist of fate so darkly comedic, I found myself grappling with the chilling reality that my grandson, in a moment of misguided jest, nearly brought my life to a dramatic end, all through the cold, unfeeling medium of a phone call. Instead, I declared, I require a sanctuary to rest my weary soul for a time. I'm finished with this haunting silence of invisibility. Maggie stood at the precipice, her heart pounding like a war drum, and without a flicker of doubt, she leaped into the abyss. Step forth. In the dim light of an unassuming house, a spare room awaits, shrouded in mystery. 2 feline sentinels, their eyes glinting with mischief, stand guard. But beware, for on Thursdays their disdain for humanity reaches a fever pitch, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Will you dare to enter their realm? In a moment that felt like a thunderclap in the silence of despair, I laughed for the first time in weeks, a sound that shattered the stillness and echoed through the shadows of my mind. And so it was. The fateful journey began a 5-hour odyssey to the quaint coastal town of Edenbrook, a place where pastel cottages stood like sentinels, where quiet bookstores whispered secrets of the past, and the salty breeze wrapped around me, a bittersweet taste of forgiveness lingering in the air. As I approached, there she was, Maggie, poised on the porch, draped in a tattered tie-dye robe that whispered of forgotten summers. Her silver hair, intricately braided, sat atop her head like a regal crown, a striking contrast to the fading light of the day. Before I could even shut the car door, she enveloped me in her embrace, a whirlwind of emotion crashing over us like a tidal wave. "You look like hell," she said, her voice a soft dagger piercing through the heavy silence. In that moment I surrendered to the flood of tears, each drop a testament to the turmoil within. At long last, after what felt like an eternity, I surrendered to the embrace of rest. In a twist of fate, Maggie offered me the sanctuary of the guest room, allowing me to surrender to the embrace of sleep for an entire 2 days. As I stepped into the light, there she stood, a vision of calm amidst the storm, tea in hand, dark, bold, and devoid of any trace of judgment. The air crackled with unspoken tension, yet her presence offered a sanctuary. We engaged in a conversation, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. Or rather, I unleashed my words into the abyss, concerning the entirety of existence. How Tyler had once proclaimed me his hero, a title that echoed in the depths of my soul. Oh, how he once stood by my side, guiding my hands as we baked Christmas cookies, the sweet aroma filling the air, and together we painted the fence each summer, laughter echoing in the warm sun. Those moments, forever etched in my heart, now feel like a distant dream, a bittersweet reminder of what once was. With a heavy heart, I revealed the truth to her, the desperate act of selling some of Albert's war medals, all in the name of fueling that elusive university fund. How I turned a blind eye to the glaring red flags, the overwhelming arrogance, the suffocating entitlement, believing they were merely the trials of youth. And thus, the fateful chain of events spiraled towards the lake, where destinies would collide and secrets would surface. Maggie stood in silence, her breath caught in her throat, refusing to break the tension that hung heavy in the air. She never uttered phrases like, "Perhaps he didn't intend it," or typical boy behavior. She stood there, a silent witness to the unfolding chaos, her ears absorbing every word like a sponge as the storm of emotions raged around her. And as I finished, she presented me with a warm scone, her voice dripping with gravity. "Well, now it's your time." The air crackled with anticipation, a moment suspended in the balance of fate. That fateful night, I penned yet another letter, the ink trembling with the weight of unspoken truths, not to Tyler, not this time, to the depths of my soul. "Dear Judy, for 74 long years, you have selflessly placed the needs of others above your own. You've sacrificed your time, poured out your love, relinquished your money, and shattered your peace. Enough is enough. No more pouring your heart out for those who wouldn't even lift a finger to help you wipe away the mess. Your existence is of utmost significance. Once more, the sweet sound of laughter should echo through your life, a melody long forgotten, waiting to break free from the shadows of despair. So, unleash your laughter. It is I. The following morning, Maggie hurled a pair of walking shoes at me, her voice slicing through the air as she declared, "There's a farmer's market down the street. You're arriving," and the air crackles with anticipation. I couldn't care less if you waltz in wearing nothing but your pajamas. And in that very moment, the icy grip of existence began to melt away, revealing the raw pulse of life beneath. 2 weeks slipped away, shrouded in an unsettling silence. Once more, I plunged into the world of gardening. Maggie possessed a minuscule backyard, where the soil lay as soft and inviting as the richest cake, a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. And I planted tomatoes and herbs, just as I once did, with a heart full of memories and a whisper of nostalgia echoing in the air. Once more, I found myself wielding the brush, plunging into the vibrant chaos of colour and emotion. Weathered wooden signs, remnants of a bygone era, stand as silent witnesses to the passage of time. One warned, "Tread carefully, for the feline harbours dark secrets." In a twist of fate, I found myself donning a colossal chicken costume, my heart racing as I stood before the eager faces of children at the town library's charity event, reading aloud with fervour, each word a dramatic revelation in their wide-eyed world. Amidst the uproarious laughter, a small voice pierced through the chaos, asking if I would take on the role of his grandmother. And in that fleeting moment a spark ignited within me, shattering the weight of time that had clung to my soul for far too long. I was reborn, unshackled from the chains of age, feeling the vibrant pulse of youth coursing through my veins once more. In that moment I was electrified, a surge of vitality coursing through my veins, igniting every fibre of my being. Then, as dawn broke with an unsettling chill, an email from Tyler pierced through the silence of my morning. Subject: "Are you kidding me? Graham." Or should I utter the name Judy now? What in the world is happening? We awoke to a chilling silence, and you were simply vanished, leaving nothing but a haunting emptiness in your wake. You vanished without a word, leaving only silence in your wake. And what treacherous words lie within this note? Is this some kind of twisted jest? Because it's utterly devoid of humour. You shattered it all into a million pieces. Alas, the time has come to postpone my journey into the halls of learning. Kayla's fury ignites like a wildfire, consuming everything in its path. How could you possibly be engaging in such antics at this stage of your life? It's time to rise from the ashes of immaturity and embrace the fierce winds of adulthood. Not a single word of remorse. Silence enveloped the scene, a heavy shroud of unspoken truths. The lake, a haunting spectre, remained unacknowledged, lurking in the shadows of their minds, its presence felt but never uttered. What secrets lay beneath its still surface? What stories were left untold? Not a single thought for my safety lingered in the air. Fury surged within as the realization struck the money had vanished into thin air. My eyes were glued to the screen, time slipping away like sand through my fingers. In that fateful moment, my finger hovered over the button, trembling with anticipation. And then, with a swift, decisive motion, I struck delete. The finality of it echoed in the silence, a heart-stopping gasp in the void of what once was. Maggie stumbled upon me on the porch, an hour later, as if drawn by some unseen force, the air thick with tension and unspoken words. A missive from the very depths of darkness. With a dramatic flourish, she placed 2 cups of tea on the table, her eyes glinting with unspoken tension. I nodded, the weight of the moment crashing down upon me like a tidal wave, each heartbeat echoing the gravity of my decision. Do you yearn to unleash your voice into the vast, roaring abyss of the ocean? A smile crept across my face, a flicker of light in the shadows of uncertainty. Not today. Fate. The winds of destiny shall not blow in your favour this time. We sat there, the air thick with unspoken words, sipping in a heavy silence that wrapped around us like a shroud. Then, in a moment that hung heavy in the air, she posed the one question that had remained unspoken, a question that shattered the silence and pierced through the very fabric of my existence. What is it that you desire now? In that moment, silence enveloped me like a thick fog, and the weight of uncertainty pressed down, leaving me utterly speechless. I was lost, adrift in a sea of questions, with no answer to grasp onto. And thus, we forged a list, a testament to our resolve. At the pinnacle, where the air is thin and the stakes are high, dance, bare feet kissing the cold, relentless rain, as the storm rages around you, each drop a whisper of freedom, each step a defiance against the chaos of the world. Launch a quaint little craft shop, where dreams take shape and creativity knows no bounds. Embark on a journey to the enchanting land of Ireland. At long last, the moment has arrived. How could I ever forgive myself for the chains I willingly wore, for the time I squandered in shadows that should have never held me? The weight of my own choices presses down, a relentless reminder of the moments lost, the life unlived. Never, ever shall guilt bind me like a cruel master again. 3 weeks later, in a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation, Maggie stood by my side as we unveiled our booth, a dazzling display of paintings and vintage recipe books, each piece whispering secrets of the past. People were utterly captivated by it. In a twist of fate, a woman clutched a mug emblazoned with the audacious phrase, "Don't push Grandma in the lake." Her laughter erupted like thunder, echoing through the room, and in that moment of sheer joy, she beckoned me into the enchanting world of her book club. Oh, how I held back the truth, the dark tale that lingered in the shadows, waiting to be unleashed. I kept it hidden from her, the story that could shatter the very fabric of our reality. Not yet. The suspense hangs heavy in the air, a palpable tension that crackles like electricity, waiting for the moment of revelation. But mark my words. One day, I shall, for my tale is of utmost significance. One fateful evening, as the sun sank low, drenching the world in a haunting golden hue, Maggie and I found ourselves ensnared in the gripping embrace of the tide, watching as it surged ominously toward us. With trembling fingers, I clutched my tea, the tempestuous wind weaving chaos through my hair, a wild dance of nature and emotion. "I think I'm finally okay," I whispered, my voice trembling with the weight of unspoken fears. "You were always okay," Maggie replied, her voice trembling with an intensity that hung in the air like a storm about to break. "How could you? You simply forgot." The weight of that oversight hangs heavy in the air, a haunting reminder of what was lost in the shadows of your mind. In the town I once abandoned, Tyler would come to a harrowing realization. Money can vanish into thin air, but trust, that's a different beast altogether. Once shattered, it is lost to the abyss of time, never to return. Perhaps, in the distant future, he will awaken to the haunting truth of his actions. Perhaps, but I shall not be left in the shadows of anticipation. In a world where tomatoes hang heavy on the vine, I stand poised to harvest their ripe bounty. But lurking in the shadows are the cats, sly and unpredictable, ready to pounce at any moment. Yet amidst this chaos, I declare my resolve. It is time to seize the life that has long eluded me. It began with a chilling message from my bank, a harbinger of chaos lurking just beneath the surface. A chilling security alert echoes through the air, sending shivers down spines and igniting a sense of dread. The atmosphere thickens with tension as the warning looms large, casting shadows of uncertainty over all who hear it. In a chilling twist of fate, an unseen hand reached out, attempting to breach the sanctity of the account holding Tyler's precious university fund, the very account into which I had poured every ounce of my existence before I vanished into thin air. My eyes darted across the words, disbelief gripping my heart as I read the message not once, but twice, then a third time, each repetition deepening the shock that coursed through me. My hands tightened around the mug of morning tea, a storm brewing within me. Since my arrival in Edenbrook, that account lay untouched, a dormant secret until Tyler unearthed it. Or at least he was desperately attempting to. Maggie stood in the kitchen, the sharp blade glinting ominously as she sliced through the lemons, their bright yellow flesh spilling forth as I entered, phone clutched tightly in my hand, the air thick with unspoken tension. Oh, the whispers of trouble loom in the shadows, a tempest brewing just beyond the horizon, she inquired, her gaze fixed on the ground, as if the weight of the world pressed down upon her shoulders. He attempted to infiltrate the account, I declared with a gasp. She halted, her eyes narrowing with a fierce intensity. He did what? In the dead of night, at precisely 3:27 a.m., a shadowy figure dared to breach the sanctity of my banking password. The audacity, the nerve. Who could it be? Lurking in the darkness, plotting their next move. The tension hangs thick in the air. A chilling reminder that danger can strike when least expected. A chilling alert pierced through the silence. It's him. I can feel it in my bones. A chilling certainty that grips my very soul. Not a soul is aware that a count lurks in the shadows, hidden from the world. Maggie lowered the knife with a deliberate slowness, as if bracing herself for an impending battle. That boy is about to face the storm of consequences like never before. I nodded, the weight in my chest pressing down, a burden both heavy and hauntingly familiar. I believed that snatching the cash and penning a simple note would suffice, yet he persists, relentless in his pursuit. He stands there, oblivious to the chaos he has unleashed, convinced that his actions are justified, that he is the hero in a tale where darkness reigns. Maggie, with a flicker of tension in her eyes, poured 2 glasses of lemon water, the citrus scent sharp and biting, before sliding one toward me, as if it held the weight of unspoken secrets. Ah, but you see, the tale remains suspended in the air, a haunting echo of what could have been, forever lingering in the shadows of your departure. I gazed upon her, my heart racing, as the weight of the moment hung heavy in the air. What do you mean? What I mean is, in the dim light, a solitary piece of paper lay abandoned, whispering secrets of your departure. You left a note. You slipped away, a whisper in the night, leaving behind a silence that screamed of unspoken farewells. But Tyler, the air thickens with tension, a storm brewing in the silence, as the weight of unspoken words hangs heavy between us. What secrets lie beneath that calm facade? What truths are waiting to erupt? The world around us fades, and all that remains is the electric charge of uncertainty, crackling in the space where hope and despair collide. He must face the reckoning that awaits him. He must behold the visage of the woman he sought to belittle, only to discover that her strength eclipses his own in ways he could never fathom. Silence enveloped the room, a heavy shroud of unspoken words hanging in the air. I stood there, lips sealed, the weight of my thoughts pressing down like a storm ready to break. Nothing escaped my mouth, not a whisper, not a sound, just an echo of what could have been said, lost in the abyss of my mind. But in that moment, an unsettling sensation erupted within me, a tempest of emotions clawing at my very core. Not revenge, but a reckoning awaits. Not fury, not rage. A tempest brews beneath the surface, a storm of emotions swirling. Yet it is not anger that reigns supreme. Power, a force that commands attention, a relentless surge that ignites the very fabric of existence. It looms large, casting shadows over the weak, a tempest that can either uplift or destroy. In its grasp, destinies are forged and shattered, leaving behind echoes of ambition and despair. The stage is set, and the players are ready. What will unfold next? The air crackles with tension as the battle for supremacy begins. For 2 agonizing days, my mind was a tempest of thoughts, swirling and crashing like waves against the shore of my sanity. Silently, as if the very air held its breath. Profoundly. As dawn broke, I strolled along the beach, witnessing the sky transform into a canvas of vibrant hues, each stroke of light a breathtaking revelation. With trembling hands, I scattered the seeds upon the ground, a desperate offering to the feathered souls that gathered outside Maggie's porch, their eyes glinting with untold stories and secrets waiting to be unleashed. In a whirlwind of chaos and determination, I tore apart my booth at the market, reshaping it into a new vision, a bold statement amidst the mundane. The air crackled with anticipation as I transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. Yet, lurking in the shadows of my thoughts, a plan began to take shape, twisting and turning like a serpent ready to strike. What if? Just what if? Tyler's insatiable obsession with the money still consumed him. What if he was still hunting for me, relentless in his pursuit? Perhaps, just perhaps, I should grant him the very thing he craved, the elusive prize he sought so desperately. It is I, standing at the precipice of fate, but not the version of me he believed he had come to understand. Not the meek, solitary grandmother who silently folded his laundry and prepared his meals in the shadows of her own despair. The rebirth of my very essence, the me that is wide awake. At first, I kept my secrets from Maggie, shrouded in a veil of uncertainty and tension. I couldn't bear the thought of her fretting over me, but a storm brewed within her as I requested to borrow her laptop, and the entire day slipped away, consumed by my relentless typing. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a revelation struck me with the force of a thunderclap. A letter, shrouded in mystery and fraught with unspoken tension, awaits its fateful revelation. But this one, oh, it's nothing like the last. The air crackles with tension, the stakes are higher, and the shadows loom larger. A twist awaits, lurking just beyond the horizon. This was not a farewell. Behold, a mirror, reflecting not just the surface, but the very depths of one's soul. I sent it through email, to Tyler's student account and the personal one he used for online games. Then I waited. He replied within an hour. Subject? Grandma. What is this? Some kind of guilt trip? Kayla said you've lost it. You're staying with some old hippie now and selling junk at a market. You really think you're better than us? What? You think you're punishing me? Fine. Keep the money. But don't act like you're some kind of victim. It was a prank. You've changed. T. I stared at the message, heart pounding. Then I typed back. You're right. I've changed. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. This conversation is over. Goodbye, Tyler. Then I blocked his email. Later that night, I read Maggie the letter I had sent him. Tyler, you pushed me into a lake. You laughed as I gasped for breath, soaking wet, humiliated, terrified. You mocked me, walked away, and didn't even leave a towel. Then you tried to rob me. Again. You didn't just break a promise. You broke a person. And I let you, over and over, because I loved the version of you that no longer exists. But I won't do that anymore. I emptied your fund because you already emptied your soul. Don't contact me again unless you're ready to apologize. Truly, deeply, and without excuses. Until then, consider this the final lesson your grandmother will ever give you. Actions have consequences. Goodbye. Maggie leaned back and let out a low whistle. Remind me never to cross you. I smiled. But behind the smile there was pain. A quiet ache for the little boy I once knew. The one who used to draw me crayon pictures of superheroes and call me Grammy the Brave. Where did that child go? A few days later, something unexpected happened. I received a message from a name I didn't recognize. Caroline D. The subject line read, I'm sorry about my son. My breath caught. I opened it. Dear Judy, you don't know me, but I'm Kayla's mother. She told me about what happened. At least her version. But after reading your message, yes, she showed me, I needed to reach out. I believe you. And I'm sorry. I raised Kayla to be kind, to respect people, especially those who open their homes and hearts. What you experienced was cruel. And I want you to know not all of us feel the way she and Tyler do. You sound like a remarkable woman. If you ever come to Portland, coffee is on me. Warmly, Caroline. I read it 3 times. Then I printed it out and tucked it into my journal. Because even in the darkest storms, there are lighthouses. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of purpose. My booth at the market expanded. Maggie and I started a line of handmade Grammy Says products with sayings like, "Push me in. Watch me swim out richer. Kindness is free, but revenge is interest heavy. Respect your elders. We write the wills." They were a hit. Teenagers bought them as jokes. Mothers bought them as warnings. Grandparents bought them with a glint in their eyes. And every time someone laughed, I felt myself healing a little more. One afternoon, I was restocking mugs when a woman in her 52nd approached quietly. "You're Judy, right?" I nodded, cautious. She smiled. "You don't know me, but I read your letter." I blinked. "How?" She chuckled. "My niece is friends with Tyler. He posted a screenshot on social media. Tried to make fun of it. But it backfired. People started sharing it. Some even called it the Grammy Manifesto. My mouth dropped open. "What?" She nodded. "It went viral. People are calling you the grandma who vanished and left wisdom behind." I didn't know what to say. She leaned in. "I just wanted to say thank you for standing up, for showing people, especially us older women, that we're not invisible. We're powerful." And just like that, my story, my pain became something bigger, something useful. That night, I sat on the porch and watched the stars blink into the sky. Maggie brought out 2 glasses of wine. "To Judy," she said, raising hers. "To surviving," I replied. "No," she corrected gently. "To thriving." We clinked glasses, and for the first time in my life I truly believed I deserved to. It was a Tuesday morning when I stepped into the Eden Brook Library for the first time, as something more than a reader. The head librarian, a sharp, warm woman named Teresa, had invited me to speak during the Voices of the Elders event. "Just a short 10-minute talk," she said. "Something light. Something honest." But somehow, word had gotten out, and by the time I arrived, the event room was packed. Rows of folding chairs filled with teenagers from the high school, parents with toddlers on their hips, retirees, and even a local journalist from the Eden Brook Gazette, scribbling in her notebook. I recognized a few faces from the market. Familiar smiles, curious eyes. I was no longer the invisible old woman at the lake house. Now I was the grandmother who vanished and found herself. "Thank you for coming," I began, gripping the edge of the podium a little tighter than I needed to. My hands were trembling, but not with fear, with weight, with truth. "My name is Judy, and for 74 years I lived for other people." A pause, a ripple in the room. I was a mother, a wife, a grandmother. I cooked meals no one thanked me for, folded shirts that got thrown on floors, gave money I couldn't afford to spare. I did it all with a smile, because I thought that was love. I let the silence grow heavy. A few people leaned in. But love, without respect, that's not love. That's servitude. And one day when my own grandson pushed me into a lake and laughed while I gasped for air, I realized something. I had given everything, and left nothing for myself. There was a sharp intake of breath from the crowd. I left that house the next morning. I emptied his university fund, not out of spite, but out of clarity. I wasn't going to fund the future of someone who tried to drown my past. A quiet murmur swept through the audience, and I didn't vanish out of shame. I vanished to find peace, a beat. I didn't lose my family that day. I lost my illusion. After the applause faded and the people began to trickle out, one of the teenage girls, no older than 16, came up to me. Her eyes were red-rimmed but fierce. "My grandma raised me too," she whispered. "She died last year. I wish she'd heard you." I held her hand and said, "Then live in a way that would have made her proud. That's how she'll hear you now." She nodded and walked away with her shoulders just a little straighter. When I got back to Maggie's, there was a letter waiting for me. Not an email. An actual envelope. The handwriting on the front was Tyler's. I stood at the kitchen counter, staring at it for nearly 5 minutes. My hands hovered over the seal, unsure whether I even wanted to know what was inside. Was it more guilt-tripping? Another attempt to justify what he did? Maggie walked in and paused. "Is that?" I nodded. She grabbed 2 cookies and tossed one to me. "Open it. If it sucks, we'll burn it in the garden and roast marshmallows over it." I smirked, then slowly peeled it open. "Dear Grammy, I've started this letter 10 times. None of it sounds right. Nothing feels enough. But I'll try. I was cruel. I was arrogant. And worst of all, I was blind. When I pushed you into the lake, I thought I was being funny. I didn't realize how fragile trust is until I felt what it was like to lose it. You were always there. You never asked for anything. And I treated you like a prop in my own show. I let Kayla mock you. I laughed when I should have apologized. And I ignored every warning sign that I was becoming the kind of man you never raised me to be. I've dropped out of university. Not because of the money, but because I realized I don't even know who I am. I need time to figure that out. I'm getting therapy. I'm living with a friend's family right now. I got a part-time job. I'm trying. I know this letter won't fix what I broke. But if you ever decide to let me back into your life, even as a phone call or a postcard, I'll be here. If not, I'll understand. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Truly. Love. Tyler. I read it 3 times. Then I placed the letter beside me and walked outside. The garden was quiet, and the evening breeze carried the scent of lavender and earth. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt. Maggie joined me a few minutes later, holding 2 teacups. "Well," she asked, settling into the chair beside me. "He apologized." She raised an eyebrow. "A real one." I nodded. It felt honest. "Do you want to write him back?" I was quiet for a long time. Then I said, "Not yet. Maybe someday, but not now." Because healing wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about freedom. That weekend, I painted a new sign for the booth. It read, "I left to save myself, not to hurt you." That was just a bonus. It sold within the hour. Weeks passed, and the tourist season in Edenbrook began to pick up. The streets buzzed with chatter. Families snapped selfies under blooming trees, and the market became the heartbeat of the town. My booth had a steady stream of visitors now. Some came for laughs. Some came for therapy, disguised as merchandise. One woman, elegant, grey-haired, with pearls and pain in her eyes, clutched a mug that read, "Retired, not expired." She whispered, "My daughter-in-law called me useless last week. I'm buying 10. I gave her a discount." Maggie and I became something of a local mystery. People whispered, "That's the grandma from the lake story," as I passed. But no one dared to treat me like a victim anymore. I wasn't someone's fragile old grandma anymore. I was a survivor with sharp edges and stories. People respected that. People needed that. One night, Maggie tossed me a brochure. "Cruise to Ireland," she said, grinning. 2 cabins. I'm paying." I blinked. "Wait, are you serious?" She nodded. "We can drink whiskey. Tell people we're retired spies. And finally see all those places you used to dream about." I stared at the glossy picture of a ship under golden clouds. Then I smiled. "Let's go." Because I didn't just want to disappear from pain. I wanted to arrive in joy. And this time, I wasn't leaving behind a broken woman who tolerated abuse. I was bringing along a warrior who finally knew her worth. The day of the cruise was warm and humming with promise. The sun shimmered off the ocean like it was made of crushed diamonds, and the ship loomed ahead like a floating palace. As Maggie and I stood in line with our passports, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't known in years. Excitement. Not the kind that comes with parties or holidays. The kind that comes when you realize, truly realize, that your life still has pages left to write. "I packed 3 wigs," Maggie whispered with a wink. "1 red, 1 silver, and one that makes me look like I steal men at bingo halls. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my boarding pass. We stepped onto the ship like two queens finally returning to their thrones. Our cabin had a balcony. Not huge, but perfect. We spent that first evening wrapped in shawls, sipping hot cocoa, and watching the sea pull us away from everything we used to be. I thought of Tyler. Not with rage anymore, not even with sadness, just clarity. He was a part of my story, but no longer the center of it. And that was freedom. The ship held surprises at every turn. Morning yoga classes where I pulled a hamstring and laughed harder than I stretched. Art galleries that made me cry over brushstrokes. A salsa class where Maggie twirled me until I forgot how long it had been since someone held my hand just to dance. And in the evenings, I'd sit on the balcony and write in my journal about everything I'd seen, everything I'd felt, everything I'd survived. Midway through the trip, we docked in Dublin. It was like walking into a storybook. The streets buzzed with music, cobblestones echoed under our steps, and the air smelled like buttered bread and rain. We took a bus tour that led us to a small, wind-swept cliffside. There, looking out at the endless ocean, I said goodbye. Not to Tyler, but to me. The me that once stood soaking and gasping at the edge of a dock, wondering why love felt like drowning. I whispered into the wind. You did good. You held on as long as you could. Now let go. Go live. That night I received one last email. From Tyler. Just one line. I understand now. I'm sorry I had to lose you to learn. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Some lessons speak loudest in silence. When we returned to Edenbrook, it felt like coming home. My garden was in full bloom. Cherry tomatoes the size of marbles, lavender buzzing with bees, and fresh mint for morning tea. The booth at the market had tripled in size. A local paper had done a story on the grandmother who vanished, and people from nearby towns came just to buy my mugs and signs. One bestseller read, "Forgive not to let them back in, but to let yourself out." Another said, "They pushed me in the lake. I came back with a yacht." On my 75th birthday, the whole town threw a surprise party. Maggie baked a cake shaped like a suitcase. The mayor came by and bought a "Respect Your Elders," or they'll rewrite the will apron. As the sun dipped low and laughter rang out, I looked around at the people clapping, hugging and dancing under string lights. These weren't just neighbours anymore. They were witnesses to the woman I became, to the life I chose. That night, I wrote one final journal entry. Dear Grammy, you didn't disappear. You reappeared in a place you were always meant to be, surrounded by people who see you, respect you, and laugh with you, not at you. You let go of the boy who forgot how to love, and you became the woman who remembered how to live. You did not grow old. You grew powerful. With love, Judy.